Story 1: How much space without communication from your partner is too much space? My partner of about 6 months got some news about their living situation that overwhelmed them. Basically, they have a few months to move out of their place and now they have to reconsider a lot of financial things to make it work. We hung out the night they got the news and had a nice time distracting and not engaging with that topic too much. They left my place the next morning and nothing was odd or peculiar. The evening of the next day they messaged and said they were feeling shut down, dysregulated and not interested in connection, but also called me dear and wished me a good day, so it felt like they were just asking for some space to deal with the emotions coming up from this news about moving and offsetting some things they were looking forward to. They had expressed in the past that overwhelm can cause them to distance themselves and not really reach out, so I figured that's what was happening. I checked in a couple days later since we had previously intended to hang out that night, but they said they weren't feeling social, so I wished them well and offered co-regulation support if they needed it. The next day I sent a message saying I miss them and am thinking of them, but they never opened the message. A few days after that, a week of them needing space, I messaged them and checked in since I was feeling a bit unsure about what was going on, and they finally read my messages and got back to me and let me know they were really going through it emotionally and then got sick and then got pink eye frown but didn't want me to feel unsure. I empathized and offered my support, but they didn't want it, so I asked if they could message me in a few days to check in with me if they're still needing space. They agreed they would message me, but when that day came, they never messaged. I tried checking in with them last night, a little more than a week and a half now, and haven't heard from them yet. We normally check in daily, usually just a few texts, and see each other a couple times a week. I'm starting to get anxious now and I'm not sure if I'm just overthinking it, being too clingy, or if there's some communication between us that needs to improve. I wish I could be included in their process or life a little more instead of feeling shut out, but I also want to respect their need to handle things on their own too. I wish I could actually just talk about this with them, but when that will happen next. TLDR, my partner is overwhelmed. They communicated they weren't interested in connection and they're feeling shut down. It's basically been over a week and a half of very little contact and I'm anxious, feeling like I'm in limbo. I would appreciate any thoughts on how this situation lands with you all and what would be a healthy way to move forward. I want secure connections in my life and want to try cultivating that with them if possible. Response: if they don't respond, they aren't interested in a relationship and you move on. You can't force anyone to do more than they want to. It's happened to absolutely everyone at some time. It sucks, but not the end of the world. You enjoy what you can in this life. I do understand giving people space to process hard things, and don't want to minimize the importance of that, and I'd personally give them the added weekend and maybe a day or so of the next week to be in their heads. But I think in the meantime it's also worth asking yourself if this is the type of partner you want, where hitting a bump in the road or life stressor makes something super basic like checking in with you seem like an ask you're tiptoeing around. If he needs more space and time, he should be identifying and communicating that and creating a new endpoint with you to remain connected. You're asking Reddit about how much space is normal. BC his decision to not really communicate his needs and update you so you can respect them is disorienting. It's valid to feel that way regardless of the compassion you have for his current stressful scenario, and he should show some compassion for how his silence without more warning may make his partner feel. I wouldn't jump into the above topic until some of this passes, but you may want to discuss it with him later on if you decide to stick things out. The best time to have an open discussion and agreements made on how this will be addressed was then. The next best time is now, or as soon as they're out of this rut. Now you know you have boundaries around giving a partner space that you need to take some time to identify clearly so that you can communicate same with your partner. For the discussion, I'd think hard about the maximum length of time you're comfortable going without contact. What sort of low-effort check-ins would make giving them space more viable, and the ideal frequency? What length of space and no contact would be intolerable for you? An agreement could be something like, up to 2 days no contact, 2 daily messages, e.g. I love you, heart emoji, I'm thinking about you, just to show they care, in the morning and night thereafter, at least one call, voice/video call to give update on how they're doing within a week. Boundaries could be something like, I'm not okay with no contact for more than 2 consecutive days. I cannot commit to maintaining a relationship with a partner who repeatedly withdraws from the relationship for more than 2 weeks when they're down. I appreciate this, thank you. Yeah, I think it's important. In the meantime, I start thinking of what exactly my boundaries are and what agreements I'd be willing to make. I think when we had the conversation originally it sounded like no contact was what they needed, but I think I made the assumption it would be a couple days, not almost 2 weeks of no reaching out on their end to let me know what's going on. So going forward, less assumptions. We were also at a very different place in the relationship with just getting to know each other, so I was a bit more comfortable with more space then. Now that I'm in the feels, a little less so. Anyways. Thanks for the reflection. People communicate in different ways. Some people don't know how to communicate and find shutting down and distance an easy way to deal with things. It also sounds like your partner wants you to be a mind reader. Ask them straight questions to get your answers so you know where you stand. Man, I tried. I let them know I was feeling anxious and disconnected with this much space and asked if they could call or meet up with me to help me understand, but they haven't even read the message since I sent it yesterday. I'm trying to just meet my own needs, and when the convo happens, it happens, but as it stands I'm not feeling like I can put a lot of trust in them being attuned to my needs in the relationship too if they're ignoring me. Story 2, should you empty your heart before a breakup? Me, 36M, and my girlfriend, 37F, have been dating for a year and 4 months. When we started dating, she lived here but could not establish an income, so she returned to her country. At that point, we had been together for 6 months. We both work remotely, so we still see each other every 4 months. The duration of the visits was 3 weeks, which I thought was a good compromise until we can find a permanent way to be together. She became a bit cold after I visited her, so I asked her about it. She told me that I had laughed twice in a mocking way during moments when she was stressed and that it made her not want to trust me anymore. I swear it wasn't that bad, but I will say I shouldn't have reacted the way I did. One of those moments was she told me she might want to move to Florida and I kinda had a cough laugh. It wasn't straight up ridicule, I just think that Florida has major hurricanes and also Florida man has quite a reputation. To be frank, I don't think Florida is a bad place to live. Now we get to yesterday, where I asked some hard-hitting questions to find out she doesn't love me anymore or even care about me. We haven't broken up, but I mean at this point next time we schedule a call we all know it's time. Now what I want to do is just speak about my emotions and talk about moments we had together before we say goodbye forever. I will not speak ill of her at all. After all, I am still in love with her. Would it be alright to reveal everything I feel and possibly tear up, break down in front of her before our final farewell, or should I just tell her I still love her and leave honorably without vomiting my thoughts all over her? Response: it's the last time you'll speak with her, so do what gives you closure. It sounds like she doesn't really love you anymore, so just be prepared for her not to care too much if you pour your emotions to her. I personally think it's best to not leave anything unsaid so you don't ever feel like I have to talk to her again because I didn't manage to tell her X. Just don't have any expectations. Don't think that because you tell her your feelings, she'll want to get back together or anything. I don't think this relationship can be saved. I was hoping she would open up if I did though. Making sure I don't expect her to reciprocate will help, thank you. At the end of my last relationship, my therapist advised the opposite, that communicating a breakup was not an appropriate time for an emotional unloading, positive or negative, on the other partner. The exception being if they specifically requested information, and where possible, if the information is negative, to keep it brief and minimize the negativity. In my case, we would be transitioning to co-parenting, so that's some important context. It was extremely crucial to consider the long-term impact of whatever would have been shared in our breakup convo. She told me that I had laughed twice in a mocking way during moments when she was stressed and that it made her not want to trust me anymore. I swear it wasn't that bad, but I will say I shouldn't have reacted the way I did. One of those moments was she told me she might want to move to Florida and I kinda had a cough laugh. It wasn't straight up ridicule, I just think that Florida has major hurricanes and also Florida man has quite a reputation. To be frank, I don't think Florida is a bad place to live. It does seem to me that some awareness is lacking in your assessment of your response here. There's some minimizing and justification in your retelling. I swear it wasn't bad, it wasn't straight up ridicule. I just think that. I think if there was a true appreciation that your partner was being genuine when they shared that your response led to a loss of trust, and a curiosity about that effect on them, that phrasing would be less likely to show up in your retelling. Having experienced similar responses to ideas and concerns from a partner myself, I can also attest that these things do add up and undermine one's ability to be vulnerable and experience the other as a safe space. Although I am more mindful now that these issues are best addressed in the moment or soon after to avoid a buildup of resentment and loss of trust, and give the partner the opportunity to respond better. I don't pretend to be perfect. I don't think I'm justifying my actions since I don't think what I did was acceptable. I acknowledge that I hurt her, and shouldn't have reacted the way I did. When I was saying it wasn't bad, I just wanted to let people know that I didn't point and laugh hysterically on purpose to hurt her. I made that mistake twice and that was enough to lose her trust. As for the minimizing, I think you are correct, but that was more at the time and I don't think like that currently. I realize now how bad of a mistake it was. She instantly said she was hurt and we spoke at length about it there on the spot. The problem was we stopped at a point where we felt we had covered everything and could move on. The damage was done and she was unable to forgive me for what had happened. She was carrying this scar and I thought it was healed. I feel deeply sorry for how I affected our relationship in both of those slip-ups. I'd just part ways. Don't spew a bunch of feelings that may guilt her into staying. Best case you get a few more months. Worst case you end up married to someone who never really wanted to be with you. Would it be okay to spew feelings since I'm fully committed to ending it regardless of her reaction? Then why? You seem to just want to hurt her before you leave. What possible good will come of this? If I only say good things about her for closure, would it still be considered hurting her? This is a rare opportunity for closure, whatever that means, but we tend to build these moments as epiphanies and they turn out to be valid. Be prepared. If you go through with it, try to stick to the positive in her and the relationship and avoid your feelings if you can. That will be the most positive goodbye. It's only positive. I never communicate hate or resentment during or at the end of my relationships. It's always better to end on a good note. I guess if you didn't love someone anymore and you had zero trust for them, how would it feel to have them dump their unrequited feelings on you? Consider this with empathy for her. Once you've been hurt and don't have feelings anymore, the other person crying and trying to say how much they love you etc. can make a situation where they want to end the conversation but also want to have empathy and make a really awkward situation for them. Story 3. I'm starved for affection in my relationship and afraid I will end up cheating. I, 36F, have been in a relationship with my BF, 34 meters, for almost 6 years. Through our whole relationship he has been minimal on the affection. In the beginning we would make out a lot because we waited a while to have sex. However, in the last 5 years we completely stopped kissing. We don't kiss before or during sex. We don't cuddle or kiss in any way. I have tried talking with him about it but it hasn't helped at all. He simply doesn't need much physical interaction with me. Last Christmas we were at a dinner party and I had put my hand on his knee or shoulder a few times. He never grabbed my hand to reciprocate. Later when I asked him why he didn't, he simply said he hadn't noticed. I am so starved for his touch that even when he touches me by accident I get all high on it. I believe he is on the spectrum. There are other things too. I love him deeply and I don't want to lose him, but I find myself fantasizing about getting hugged and touched by other men. Almost any man I walk by. What do I do? I am afraid I will cheat on him and I know it won't solve anything. Response. This is not gonna change. Take it from someone who spent WTF? Years in the same situation. It will never get better. Your options are, leave or be miserable for the rest of your life, but you'll probably end up leaving in your late 40s anyway. Don't bother having an affair, do the right thing, break up. Don't listen to Chris of I'll change either, because he won't. He'll talk the talk for a while, maybe even walk the walk for a year or two, but then it'll just slide back into the same slow hell you're in now. Since my account is called project_good_vibes, I'll end with this: there is a world full of wonderful people out there, who will love and cherish you like you deserve. There is so much to gain by not being where you are. I can tell you without a doubt being single is way, way better than what you have now. Being alone is much nicer than being lonely with someone else. 5 years is more than enough. Leave, go find your person. I know it won't change. We have had so many arguments, talks and discussions about this. There is always something. I have gotten really frustrated and low self-confidence over the years. I can't get past feeling that if I was desirable he would want to touch me, kiss me, etc. I do everything I can to stay fit and healthy. I buy new clothes, wear makeup every day, have nice hair and a good hygiene, but it doesn't matter. I also focus on my personality and do a lot of charity work, play sports and read. Still I feel like there is nothing about me that's appealing. I feel that I need to change something and that he will then want me physically, yet I'm lost for ideas. I am so afraid that I'm just repulsive and that no guy would want me. Trust me when I say this, it's not you, it's him. My ex was the same, she had no interest in me at all. I've been so starved of touch and affection for so many years I think it's actually mentally damaged me. Sex was robotic, she also refused to kiss, there was no affection of any sort at all. It's like they pretend to go through the motions. I eventually brought mine to a head by insisting on couples therapy or I'd move out. She didn't believe me. These types of people are just comfortable with their life, and they don't give a shit about yours. When you do kick up a fuss and threaten to leave, he'll want you to stay, perhaps, not because he doesn't want to lose you, but because you're flipping with his situation, and he's happy with his situation. It'll never be about you, loving you or service to you. All you can do is take yourself out of the situation. You are not repulsive, he is just a selfish taker. It's that simple. Please read the book Too Good to Leave, Too Bad to Stay. It was a total eye-opener for me. Totally blew my mind. Thank you so much for your kind words. I will look the book up. I have heard of it before. It really messes with your mind and makes you feel incredibly inadequate, so I do believe it has some kind of lasting effect. My therapist is working a lot with me on this, so I hopefully can see that it's not me, or at least not only me. Story 4. Made a huge mistake and my wife thinks I am cheating. So I, am 38, have been married with my wife, F39, for 8 years and have 3 small children. Today after dinner I got a call from a coworker, F in her 30s, completely unexpectedly. I picked it up and she was telling me she wanted to talk to me about whether she should quit the job. I told her that I was busy but we could talk next Thursday as there will be a gathering from work. My wife was in the same room and heard it. When she asked who it was I explained it was a colleague from work asking for advice. I simply forgot to disclose it was a woman. I said it was a colleague and used the male pronoun in our native language. She saw the caller and well, now she thinks something is going on between me and my colleague. Of course when she pointed that out, I was floored. It does sound really bad and I cannot take it back. I also don't understand why suddenly this colleague called me at night on my phone. We never had this sort of relation and I picked it up because I thought something was urgent at work. Now my wife thinks I am cheating her and I honestly don't know what to do. She doesn't believe it was a mistake I made. I cannot blame her for feeling like this, but the truth is that I never cheated, and never even wanted to cheat. I really love my wife. Any advice will be highly appreciated. TLDR, a female colleague called me unexpectedly. I didn't say it was a woman and now she thinks I am cheating. Response. Tell her to go and speak to the woman. Offer to call her, right now, on the spot and let her talk to her. Do it without prepping the colleague. The woman called you and put you in this situation, she can deal with a little of the blowback. Once your wife sees how the woman reacts, it should settle things down. But do it quickly, do it confidently and don't worry about how it makes the other woman feel. This happened once to me. He got a call from a female co-worker. He answered in the car so I could hear everything. She was talking about nudes she sent to an ex. Don't know why you would talk about that with a married co-worker. But I got upset, then he changed the incoming calls to not say who it was. I never knew what actually happened with that, but I'm not someone who pressures this information.